Hey, what is going on, guys? Max Settings here, and welcome back to another review. In today's review, we are going to be taking a look at the Moondrop Sparks. Trying a little bit different of a background here for this review, but anyway, before we hop on into today's review, just a little disclaimer that this Sparks was provided for review by HifiGo Audio. HifiGo Audio is an online audio retailer that carries many different brands, and they've sent me a few things before in the past to take a look at. So if you're interested in picking up some gear, definitely take a look at their store. They carry a nice selection of products. But once again, big thanks to them for sending this out for review. I will link their store in the description below. But anyway, the Moondrop Sparks is Moondrop's current true wireless offering. And this is their true wireless IM. Comes in 3 different colors. There is the pink, the purple, which this one is, and there's also the international version, which is kind of like a black and gold finish. I was supplied the purple finish, as you can see here. So today we will see what I think about it. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get specs out of the way, and we will hop on into the review. So the Sparks is coming in at $90. It is using a 6mm dynamic driver with a frequency response of 20,000 Hertz. And in terms of supported Bluetooth codecs, you have aptX, adaptive, aptX, AAC, and SPC. And they claim about 8 hours of playback on the earphones with an additional 48 hours on the charging case. And that is about it for interesting specs on the Sparks. So now let's move into the build section of the Sparks here. So the Sparks, in terms of build, feels pretty solid overall. The case itself kind of has a soft touch kind of finish on the exterior. It says Moondrop on the lid, Sparks on the front. On the back, you have your USB-C charging port to charge the IEMs, and it's somewhat transparent. As you can see, you can kind of see into the internals of the electronics of the case. And then inside, you will find your IEMs. So you pop them out like so. And then the IEMs themselves have a similar type of soft touch finish. Feels somewhat rubberized. And you can see your tips. They give you a little bag of different tips in the box with a somewhat long nozzle. And in terms of comfort of this, moving into the comfort section now, I find them actually pretty comfortable. They fit into my ear pretty well, and I like the shape a lot. It contours to your ear quite well, as I think you can see. But again, IM comfort is highly subjective, and your mileage will vary a lot depending on your ear shape. But me personally, I think they are quite comfortable. One thing that I did have a little bit of issue with these just is they're kind of hard to figure out which one goes in which side. As you can see there, I already kind of messed up, but I guess with some practice, you'll get used to it. And then when they're charging, you have the little charging light on the case and on the IEMs themselves. And they also have touch controls, so it's touch once to play pause, double tap to skip track, and on the right earpiece, and then I think double tap the left earpiece, which is go back track, and then you hold down on it for your voice assistant, either Siri or Google Assistant, or I guess Bixby if you're into that sort of thing. So that is a little bit of the overview of the Sparks. All right, so now moving into the sound segment here with the Sparks. So starting off with the frequency response. So the Sparks has got just a little moderate bass shelf, kind of a Harman over-ear style bass shelf of about a 5 dB shelf below 100 Hertz. After that, the rest of your lower mids are more or less flat. And then your upper mid range is about in line. I'd say your 2.5, 3K area is slightly forward. A couple dB, maybe 2 to 3 dB, so they get a little bit shouty in the upper mids overall, but the upper treble is right in line. It's not overly bright or anything. It's not annoying whatsoever. And above 10K air is not really much there at all, but again, $79 or $89 IEM, so that's about expected. So frequency response on them is quite good overall. Now, in terms of other aspects, in terms of detail, so the Sparks is actually surprisingly resolving for a true wireless IEM. Now, it's not as good as Moondrop's wired offerings in this price range, like the Aria. The Aria is a little bit more resolving than this, but compared to even some more of the much more expensive mainstream true wireless offerings, I find these to be more resolving overall. In terms of dynamics, they're actually also pretty good, and also in terms of transients. A lot of true wireless IEMs have very blunted transients, particularly ANC ones. Now, these ones do not have ANC, so that's probably part of the reason behind it. But they have surprisingly decent transients that aren't overly blunted or anything, and that makes for a very nice listening experience overall. And then, yeah, like I mentioned with dynamics, they're decent overall macro dynamics. Micro is a bit smoothed over, but it's a cheaper IEM and it's also Bluetooth, so that could also be part of the reason for that. But decently punchy bass overall, and not overly compressed or dead or anything. Surprisingly lively presentation overall. In terms of head stage, actually surprisingly wide. It has decently wide width left and right, I found. Imaging is nothing amazing, not that I really expected it to be, but again, not nearly the vaguest imaging that I've heard in any true wireless IEM. And then in terms of timbre, it's decently natural, slightly plasticky, but nothing super offensive or anything like that. In my books, overall, I find these to be quite good in those areas. So I think that is about it for the sound segment here on the Sparks. So now moving into comparisons here and my final thoughts. So the Sparks at $79, I guess their closest competitor is going to be Samsung's Galaxy Buds, which I haven't heard for a super long extended period of time. Now the Sparks are, I think, better tuned than the Galaxy Buds. The Galaxy Buds are bassier and a little bit brighter and a little bit shoutier because they're tuned to Harman in-ear, where this is somewhat closer to like Harman over-ear. It's kind of like that older school Harman over-ear, but in an in-ear format Moondrop target that they kind of used to do more than they do nowadays. But the tuning on this is really, really good overall. I think this is probably the best tuned true wireless IEM that I know of, which I'm very happy about because I was honestly expecting this to just be like a true wireless SSR or SSP, which I really did not like. So I'm very happy that the tuning on this is very, very good. Now, in terms of overall technicalities compared to the two true wireless that I have a lot of experience with, which is the Sony WF-1000XM3 and the Apple AirPods Pro, which we have right here, the Sparks, I would say, is more technically competent than both of them. I think it's more detailed and a little bit less blunted than both. Of course, it lacks ANC compared to both of those and a few other cooler tech features. The Sonys have a lot of EQ stuff and some other funky stuff you can do in the app. And of course, AirPods, if you're an Apple user, have the great iOS integration. So you don't really have either of those with the Sparks. But in terms of straight sound performance, I think the Sparks is definitely ahead of both of those. I think it's, like I said, a little bit more resolving, a little less blunted, and honestly better tuned than both of them. So all in all, I think the Sparks is a very solid offering, especially for $89. This is probably the go-to sub 100 true wireless, either this or Galaxy Buds, depending on your preference. But I actually really, really like the Sparks. I know the purple color is probably going to be off-putting for some, which is why the international version exists. So pick that up if you're looking for a sub $100 true wireless. I think it's a really solid package overall. If I one little last critique, I guess, to throw in here, the case is a little bit clunky, but it's not terrible by any means. But overall, the Sparks by Moondrop here, great offering overall, and I highly recommend them for their price point. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed my review of the Moondrop Sparks. Once again, big thanks to HifiGo Audio for providing these for review. I will link where to buy these in the description below, as well as my Twitter, my contact email, and all other relevant information. But anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.